Wait, let's move on to some happier news. So, Mamdani backed three DSA candidates, Democratic Socialists of America candidates, in New York City primaries, and all three of them won.
CBS News, New York.
We're going to watch a little bit on that.
Now at 11, primary night in New York, and it's a big one for the far left-leaning candidates backed by Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Good evening, I'm Christine Johnson, and this is not just a win for the candidates that he supported for Congress, but it is a big political win for the mayor. Tonight, he once again proved his strength by boosting the profile of progressive Democrats. In District 13, CBS News projects Daria Lisa Avila Chavaley as defeating longtime Congressman Adriano Espaillat. And then in the 10th congressional district,
these people are coming in with no name recognition, no funding or backing from the Democratic establishment. They come in with all the disadvantages and still win the primaries. That should tell you something about how much the grassroots efforts affect their ability to do this, and how their single positions on basically everything align so much more closely with the voter base that they can overcome those disadvantages in the logistics of the race with basically just popular mandates, or literally populism.
Former controller Brad Lander has toppled incumbent Dan Goldman.
So one thing that came up during the campaign is that Dan Goldman went into a coffee shop. They knew who he was. They knew that he was very pro-Israel. They hated that. And they still gave him his drink. He already had it, and they refunded it because they said, we don't want to serve you. We don't want you in here. That same place has served Brad Lander, who is also Jewish. Nothing anti-Semitic about it. They just think his political views are disgusting, which they are. Again, incumbent, full backing from the Democratic establishment, and he loses this race because of partly the backing of Zohran Mamdani, with Brad Lander, who also ran against Zohran Mamdani and ended up endorsing him at the very end of the race to help him push him over the line. But Brad Lander also taking popular positions on Israel, on housing, on rent freezes and grocery stores to reduce the cost of living for New Yorkers. So, wave of populism from people who just want to do things that help New Yorkers. What a wild idea in politics that you promise things that will help your constituency, and you win off of that.
7th Congressional District, Claire Valdez, a first-term assemblywoman, prevailed to beat Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. We have team coverage here at 11 with reporters covering all the key races. Let's begin with the big change in Congressional District 13. Addie Guajardo live at the watch party for Daria Lisa Avila Chavaley in Harlem tonight. Addie, I'm sure the mood there is pretty ecstatic.
Yeah, Christine, the atmosphere is absolutely electric out here. The chants and the cheers have been off the chart out here.
So they're just going to talk about how much everybody's celebrating.
Mamdani. She's the daughter of immigrants and ran on the casting New York and crowned me win outage.
Dick, the mood there.
For Lisa, she Espaillat happened. Well, that was supposed one bit exactly what.
Well, have we done it?
Congressman, your thoughts on what happened tonight?
Well, you know, I've been representing this neighborhood for 30 years, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done. Tonight we came up short. You know, I congratulated the winner, and I look forward to cooperating to make sure
The winner wouldn't even say his name, dude. What a coward.
that the best things happen to her, that she's able to represent our community in the best way possible.
Now, this district is traditionally has been hit there huge and heat time here.
Elusive challenger Brad Lander has won in District 10, beating incumbent Dan Goldman. District 10 encompasses immigrant enclaves like Chinatown, as well as New York's wealthiest zip codes of Tribeca and Brooklyn Heights. Allie Bauman live at Lander's watch party in Gowanus tonight. Allie?
Christine, cheers began here just minutes after the polls closed tonight, and CBS News projected Brad Lander the winner. This race came down to two things: Mayor Mamdani's influence and the U.S.'s relationship with Israel. Former comptroller Lander is now the projected Democratic candidate for New York's 10th congressional district, defeating the incumbent Congressman Dan Goldman in a swift victory. Lander's gamble to cross-endorse with Zohran Mamdani during last year's mayoral election has seemingly certainly paid off as Mamdani bucked party lines in this election, endorsing Lander over Goldman, who was backed by Governor Hochul and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. The issue at the center of this race was the U.S.
I mean, I don't understand how we can keep having Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer constantly making the wrong decision, the decision against the populist outcry, against the will of the voters, over and over and over again. They back candidates that everyone hates, and they are still in power. It's insane to me. They want to lose. This is why you've never seen a War Powers Act come through for the war in Iran, because they've hemmed and hawed over that, even though they said, oh, the war is fine for establishment Dems. They just don't like how it's being conducted. Whereas you have people who actually agree with the populist of America saying, no, we don't want this war. It's costing us billions, and we're getting absolutely nothing out of it. We had a perfectly good agreement before that was torn up. So you're seeing a huge difference in who is being elected versus who the establishment Democrats are backing. And the reason for that is the same reason they lost the 2026 or 2024 election, same reason they lost the 2016 election, because they're more interested in listening to a couple consultants tell them how they think they should run based on how they can convert a couple of Midwest voters versus the disenfranchised voters who are disenfranchised because they're sick of seeing their party that's supposed to represent their interest just not do that.
U.S.'s relationship with Israel.
I will be one of the Jewish members of Congress most willing to stand up loud for Palestinian human rights, freedom, and dignity. And I will stand firmly against bigotry aimed at Jews as well. That's not two different jobs. That's the same job.
I knew then what we all know now, and what many of you all have known for years. Brad brings a kindness to this work.
While this is certainly not the outcome I hoped for and worked so hard for, I respect their decision. I just called Brad and congratulated him on his victory.
I think you get the idea from there. And then we're gonna look later on at an interview they had with Zoran Mamdani talking about these wins, as well as what it's gonna mean for New Yorkers. One other thing that happened this week as well is Zoran Mamdani was able to get enough people on the housing committee to do the rent freeze that he's talked about. So in this coming year, 2027. They'll have a rent freeze for people on 1 to 2 year leases in New York City.
New York, the Independent Rent Guidelines Board just froze the rent. That means if you're one of the more than 2 million New Yorkers who lives in a rent-stabilized apartment, your rent's going to be frozen next year.
But yeah, so following through on one of his major promises, he's helped fix the roads, he's helped freeze rent, he's helped get other DSA members and progressives elected so that they can help push that agenda forward. Thank you so much for watching my video. It'd be great if you could leave me a like, subscribe, maybe a comment, and you should be seeing a video pop up anywhere on screen right now that you can click on to get some more content. Thank you again. Have a great day.